Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel.
We must address
Tonight
the
I want to
critical
take you
issues at
behind the
hand
scenes of
with
a high-stakes
urgency and
intelligence
precision.
operation, one that reads like a thriller but has real-world consequences. In the middle of Europe's most volatile theater, a double agent inside the heart of the system has outwitted one of the most feared security services in the world. Imagine the corridors of power in Moscow, the darkened offices of the Federal Security Service, FSB, and a Ukrainian operative who played a genius trap, one that humiliated the nation's leader. The tension is electric, the stakes immense, and the outcome may shift the balance in ways most people don't yet see. It began months ago in Kyiv, where a skilled intelligence officer approached Ukrainian authorities with critical information. He claimed he was embedded inside the FSB's network, gathering secrets, feeding disinformation, waiting for the right moment. On one side stood trembling memos, on the other side Black Ops' silent directives, and across that divide a plan grew. The agent's messages were subtle, coded, seemingly innocuous, but each one laid a step in a trap. Meanwhile, in Moscow, the leader watched, his face sharp with concern. How did the opposite side get inside? How fragile was his fortress? And when the trap sprung, the humiliation would echo across capitals. The Ukrainian command center hummed with monitors and chatter. A large map of Eastern Europe lit the wall, marked with nodes of suspected operatives, safe houses, and supply lines. Analysts, seated under blinking lights, followed the double agent's progress, his contacts, his reports, his risk exposures. All the while, he wore the mask of a loyal asset to the FSB, tapped into their traffic, feeding them leads that seemed valuable yet carefully crafted. Each report he gave them pointed to a promised coup of influence, a strategic pivot, yet was layered with falsity. In Moscow, the FSB swallowed the bait, believing they had access to something big. Back in Kyiv, the team breathed carefully. The agent's last transmission arrived, confirmation of a covert meeting in a remote location, dark hours, foreign operatives present, a vital data handoff to impede Ukrainian operations. The FSB believed they were walking into their advantage. Little did they know they were walking into the opposite. The Ukrainians let the meeting go ahead, turned their forces silent, waited for the moment when it would serve them best. The skies were silent, but the air fatal with possibility. The night of the handoff arrived. A deserted industrial yard in the outskirts of Kyiv turned ghost still. Streetlights flickered, distant thunder rumbled. The agent arrived, shadowed by the FSB's observers. They followed his lead deep inside the yard. Unbeknown to them, the Ukrainians surrounded key exits. Surveillance drones hovered above like silent guardians. Inside the yard, the agent handed over digital files. Files the FSB thought contained high-value intel on Ukrainian troop movements. They believed they'd outfoxed Kyiv. But those files were planted with false trajectories, fake orders, misfeeds. As the FSB moved to act on them, the Ukrainians were already 2 steps ahead. In Moscow, when the first reports came in of mistargeted operations, alarm bells rang. The leader's face, seen in state-televised image, grew drawn. Overnight, his inner circle began shaking. Questions trembled. How did our intelligence fail? What mole is inside us? The humiliation worked its way through circles of power. The FSB, renowned for its invincibility, had been juked. The double agent's role would remain secret publicly, but behind the scenes the message was clear. The Ukrainians knew your moves, used your moves and made you dance to their tune. The aftermath was silent but deadly. Operations that the FSB believed would roll forward stalled. Commanders in Moscow had to pause and revise. The confidence drilled into the heart of Russia's intelligence apparatus cracked, if only just a little. For Kyiv, the success was strategic and symbolic. One man inside the enemy, carrying out a plan so audacious and precise, changed the narrative. The trap didn't involve tanks or fighter jets. It involved information, disinformation, subtle signals, but the cost was high and the payoff higher. Imagine the FSB officers in a dimly lit briefing room, planes overhead on standby, the leader's portrait looming on the wall, the sense of urgency palpable. They convinced themselves they were in control, the agent feeding leads, the Ukrainians unaware, until the moment when the leads led them astray. At the same moment in Kyiv, the military advisors held strategy sessions, reviewing the data the agent provided, preparing responses for every contingency, ready for the trap to snap shut. When it did, the eloquence of victory wasn't in explosions. It was in the silence of the adversary's confusion, and yet there were moments of personal risk. The agent himself moved under deep cover, every step dangerous. On a rainy night, he slipped into a meeting place unaware of FSB tails. He knew one wrong move, one unsecured signal, and his life would end. But the mission demanded it. He thought of his homeland, his family, the cost of vulnerability. This wasn't glamorous warfare. It was the invisible kind, the kind that shifts power quietly but irreversibly. While bombs make headlines, this kind of operation makes history. The political reverberations were immediate. In Moscow, the leader convened his Security Council. Behind closed doors, the discussion was fierce. How to stop this leak? How to make sure this kind of embarrassment never repeats? Allies abroad watched closely. In Kiev, the president and defense chiefs issued subtle but pointed statements. We protect our people. We defend our values. We expose the weak places in the aggressor's structure. They knew the victory would cause ripples. Not loud bombs, but tremors of revealed vulnerability. The double agent had done more than trap a few officers. He exposed a strategic flaw. Superior hardware and numbers don't matter when the adversary controls your mindset. On the ground, the Ukrainian forces leveraged the FSB's misdirection. They rerouted convoys, repositioned units, and launched operations under cover of the disinformation fed by the agent. The Russian response? Hesitation. Commands delayed. Resources diverted. All off the rhythm they had expected. For those who study warfare, the lesson was clear. The front line is no longer just the trench, the missile, the bomber. It is the mind, the message, the covert whisper. The agent had turned knowledge into weaponry, the trap into a strategic anchor. The humiliation for Moscow, for the FSB, was more than embarrassment. It reshaped deterrence. When you cannot trust your own intelligence network, when you doubt the loyalty of your assets, when you realize the other side is inside you, all the rhetoric about invincible state machinery rings hollow. And for Kyiv, this success became a narrative of empowerment, of turning the tables. The Ukraine that once was reacting now acted. The secret hero in this story might remain nameless, but his impact will shape countless decisions, doctrines, and boardroom conversations in capitals around the world. Zoom out now. Look at the skyline of Kyiv illuminated in twilight. War sirens silent momentarily, towers casting long shadows. This city held a secret operation that delivered a strategic blow. Look at the skies over Moscow. Fighter jets grounded, the command center restless, the leader pacing. Look at the corridors of power in Europe, intelligence agencies recalibrating. This trap wasn't about bullets or tanks. It was about trust and betrayal, about secrets and control, about the tension between what is seen and what is hidden. In the aftermath, international observers whispered of a new era. Intelligence wars, cyber wars, supply chain wars, they said the visible battles are only part of the story. The real war is the one you don't see. The one in back rooms, in encrypted chats, in planted documents, in strategic misleads. And tonight's story exemplifies that. The double agent forced the FSB into action based on false premises, making them reveal their hand, exposing their processes, undermining their confidence. That kind of victory is devastating because it doesn't feature in official casualty lists, but it shifts the strategic ground beneath your feet. For you at home, you may ask, why does this matter? Because the chips you hold in your phone, the apps you run, the data in the cloud, all flow through systems that depend on intelligence, on trust, on infrastructure. When a nation's secret service is compromised, when a state's narrative is punctured, when the balance of power tilts, our civilization watches. The story of this agent isn't remote. It is part of the invisible shield that keeps nations safe, that keeps commerce moving, that keeps society functioning. We often focus on headlines of bombs and tanks, but the intelligence layer underpins everything. As we look ahead, the implications loom. Will more such operations emerge? Will nations increase paranoia about their assets? Will adversaries invest more in infiltration, deception, covert tactics, rather than raw force? The answer is yes. And that means the next time you hear about an intelligence leak, a spy trial, a hidden campaign, it might be the front end of something much larger. The world of espionage is no longer black and white. It's shades of gray, played out on laptops and satellite feeds, as much as on warships and air raids. In the end, the Ukrainian double agent did not fire a warhead. He did not launch a missile. He set a trap, manipulated a sworn foe, and forced their hand. He revealed cracks in a fortress. That's a triumph that echoes far beyond one mission. And for the FSB and Moscow's leadership, the lesson is harsh and clear. You cannot fight shadows when the shadows are watching you. The quiet victory in Kyiv will shape meetings in Moscow, strategy sessions in capitals, doctrines in intelligence academies. Thank you for joining me on this journey through the hidden war of spies and secrets. Stay alert, stay informed, and remember, sometimes the greatest victories happen in silence. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more updates.